Hi, Joe Cerrone.
And Al Rosen.
Welcome to our weekly Zoom classroom meeting for basic AutoCAD. I have a recording from last semester. We've got a number of these videos that we're running now, and so we'll circle back around to this. But this week, we're covering Module 4. Al, do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure. We have in the blue, that's all written stuff, and there's pink, purple stuff should be there. That's videos also. PDFs, if you click on the first one, it's objectives, our learning objectives in Module 4. Thank you, Joe.
Right, and so...
And on the module, go ahead.
Well, the objectives are really about draw commands. And so when you get down to circle, arc, ellipse, polyline, polygon, rectangle, donut, spline, every week we'll introduce some more commands into the course, but the objectives are pretty straightforward. Draw commands.
Right. And we have video of the instructions in Module 4.
Right, and so if we look at the assignments in here, here's our Polyline assignment. I've got somebody entering the room. The Polyline assignment is fairly straightforward, and we like it because it's a nice general design project where we can use these polylines to create these different geometries. And let me pull it up on my screen here. Yeah, let me get rid of that. My computer is slow. So as we look at these, we'll go through how to create the geometries. Turn on my line weight, there we go. Things like polylines are very useful. When you get down to it, you might go, oh, it's just polyline. What does that mean? Well, what it means is it's a closed boundary shape. And when we close these boundary shapes, we can do things with them, like make 3D objects out of them. We can calculate out areas. We can do a number of other things. Like, for example, if I wanted to go here and calculate out the area of this polyline, I could go down here and say object, and then as I select on it, it'll give me the area of that closed boundary shape. So it's really good if you're working on floor plans and you want to know how much carpet to buy, how many square feet of tile you're going to need. Areas like that, it's extremely useful for. Switching back, we have our traditional mechanical assignments, and we have some architectural assignments as well. And so the mechanical assignments, like this right here, as we go and we take a look at this. And I just was working on this in the shop yesterday. And so as we go through it, you know, we're looking at these geometries, and I'm pulling up some of the student versions. You can see the okay. It's just a matter of being organized. But as we go through these, layer management is a big deal. And so if I switch over to layer 0, and then I turn off my centerline layer, this is a properly created drawing. If I turn off my dimension layer, and then with something like this, I can 3D print it, or I can bring it into a CAD/CAM system. And so as we go through and we build these skills, we want to make sure that we follow the drafting conventions, because these drawings are not just drawings, but they're data that's going to be used by machine tools. And then for our architectural labs, as we look at these, I don't think I have this one on CAD this morning, but I've done this many times. This is a vending room. And so when you go in the cafeteria now, everything's in a vending machine. And so you can lay out the vending machines. And there's a couple of areas here that put some garbage cans, maybe a microwave, you know, some area that the students can prepare the food. And then there's a countertop right here. Just a typical architectural application, drawings in feet and inches. And so lots of content for you guys to work on. And then the quizzes. And we did have an email from one of the students who was saying that some of the quizzes are glitching. If they are, we will fix them. And if we haven't fixed them yet, we're still trying to figure it out. But you should be taking a quiz every week with each of the chapters. All right, here's our recordings from last week as we went through and we worked on module 3 last week. Just a lot of general design type projects. And so here's some examples. I like to experiment with my CAD. And so I'll model them and 3D print them or put them into a laser cutter and cut them. It's fun. You know, I just like to make things, especially when there's nothing on TV. I have the TV on all the time in the background, but there's so many commercials that during the commercials, I'll go through and I'll develop things. And so what I did was I took the first 5 plates and then I just added to it. And so here's plate 6, 7, 8 from last week's assignment. And then as we start to work with these, you know, there's a lot of neat things that we can do with them as I take things and model them. And I just use press pull or extrude, but easily I could print these and this would be a nice coaster, name tags, all kinds of neat little things that you can make. And with digital production techniques, they're really reasonable. You know, a 3D printer you can get for under $1,000. You can get them in the hundreds, but I wouldn't recommend anything less than $800, $700. The Prusa is nice. And so people are going to have these at home, you know, output devices. So that's last week as we go through things. And if we come back to our main splash page, look at our calendar of events. Module 3 is due next week. We'll be into March already. Module 2 is due today, 11:30. Students are turning in the assignments. You should be turning them into the assignments folder here. So it looks like I just got a bunch turned in recently. We get notified when you turn them in. And remember, if they're not perfect, you can still turn them in and just ask for an extension or ask us to troubleshoot things. We like doing that.
Joe, if you go into
And then as we take a
go
ahead, Al.
Go to students instead of yourself, then you go into content, please.
Sure. One thing I did do, I had an email about some of the content with Design Center. And so like finding the chairs and things like that for some of these floor plans, Al has gone and put together an area of content in Design Center that has some really excellent stuff in it. And it says Design Center right here. And so I enabled that this morning. And I highly recommend you download this because it's got some really great content in it. And we'll show you how that works. All right, so the assignment this week will be to do module 4. As we look at module 4, it's basic draw commands. We have a video, and then we have a secondary video of a chapter recap. And so you're welcome to watch these. You know, we look at the statistics and everything, and people typically, you know, kind of go through those pretty quickly. But if you do click on the videos and you like them, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. We're really trying to organize some of our online content. And so here's an example from last semester. And what we'll do today is, you know, we won't make you watch the videos, but we want you to know that we have a lot of good content developed. It's only an 18-minute, 17.5-minute video. And we'll demonstrate things like I'm showing here with some of these isometric drawings that are created with CAD, because Al and I have been doing CAD for a very, very long time, right, Al?
Most definitely.
Yes, and so as we go through it, you know, all you got to do is ask us a question. We're more than happy to go into it. Polylines are great. I really like working with those. Object snaps, very good. You need to start to get to be able to work with those. And so if we look at the videos, You know, this is our Oakton CAD website. We've migrated into the D2L site as we go through. But it's just great stuff to kind of look at while you're sitting on your computer, or you're doing other things. You can kind of run them in the background. And I found that's a really great way in this current environment. You know, watching TV is just, there's just nothing on. But watching YouTube, you can actually learn something. And so really recommend the YouTube route, where you can watch these videos, you can pick up on some tips and tricks, and it's all there for you. And here's another one on Object Snap, just how to create these different drawings. And there's a downloadable file that you can download and create that geometry. We'll have to hunt around for it. I'm sure it's in here. Here's our arc drawing, our vending machine room. Our mechanical drawing, you know, use the B-size mechanical title block. Remember, the units for the dimensions here are inches, but they're decimal units versus the architectural drawings. When we set up the templates, like we talked about in chapter 2, we have to set up the proper units. And then as you get into things like dimension styles, text styles, and just basic drafting techniques, they're a little different. But like I was demonstrating before, you want to use proper layer management, because the drawings are not just pictures anymore, they're being used for other things. And so I was in the shop on Saturday. We can make these parts on our laser cutter or on our CNC mill, or even 3D print them, but we need good CAD geometry. And so as we look at these things like this, yeah, I need that laid out. I need things put the way they have them set, with the proper layering, proper center lines, proper dimensions like that, so that I can produce them. Here's your B-size paper. You can download that, create your drawing. It's our mechanical print. Remember to do the drawings in model space. There's nothing in here, but that's where we'll draw it. And you can turn on your grid and your snap. And you should start to get comfortable now with some of the settings, because we always kind of go through the same, you know, whether it's the units that we're working with, or whether it's the title blocks. As we cover these chapters, we will continue to build on our skill set. And I think I have almost everything pretty well set. If I open the Polyline exercise, and I really like this Polyline exercise. Like I was saying before, we can, rather than have, and maybe what I should do is to set this up so that the layers are locked. I think I will do that in the next semester. But as we look at it, we just want you to duplicate the existing geometries that are on here. And so if I put on a grid and a snap, and I create something with a polyline, I'm just going to create it on this text layer. It's fine. And then when I go through and create these geometries, and then I'm going to type C for close here. It's better to type C for close, because otherwise there's like a seam. You can actually see it. But as we draw these, what we want to be able to do is to be able to use inquiry commands like area and object, because you can have a funny shaped object and then calculate out the area. Now this is a mechanical, it's a decimal units. If we were in an architectural application where I needed to do a floor plan or something like that, I don't see one open at this time, so I won't be able to show it. But I think you get the idea, you know, especially when you're working with, you know, room shapes that aren't square. And then we like to do 3D printing and making things. And so we'll take these geometries and then model them by going into an isometric view. And then we can do things like press pull it. remember, as you're working with AutoCAD, it does everything better in wireframe. And so it glitches a little bit in conceptual, but depends on your graphics card. So here, if I put a conceptual view on this, I can then take that and 3D print it and use it for something. The same with this, if I press pull, and I'm going to just extrude. If you work with these things, whether it's, let's do this one. This is probably the hardest part. Just this curly Q shape. Other things that we can do, like the Des Plaines Campus Lake. We did a lot of work for the fire department, and we used to go and do their pre-plans. And what they are is basically floor plans for buildings that tell them where the lockbox is to get into the building, where the gas shutoff is, things like that. Mapping, okay? And so as we go through and we look at this exercise, this kind of falls under Polylines with a command called the sketch command. And so if we sketch, the important thing in sketching is to read your command prompt and look at the increment value. And so if I go and I type I for increment, I don't have my heads up drafting on. I can set the increment value very small. 0.5 is not, 0.1 is pretty decent. So we'll say 0.1, we'll hit enter and we'll accept that. And then when you specify the start point, you just click, and then as you move the mouse, it just kind of rolls out with that size. And so back years ago when CAD first came out, they would have digitizer pads, and they would go through and trace over drawings. And so the idea was to get everything in electronic form, because paper is on its way out. I mean, we'll always have it, but from a standpoint of usefulness, can't send it over the internet. And then I can kind of come back here with an endpoint. It doesn't want to, not this morning. Enter, enter. And so sketch lines allow us to do things like topography maps. And this is just an example of some splines with some points on it. And I'll go into that at another point so I don't make this video too long. All right. So that's our 10-minute Zoom meeting. Work on module 4. The assignments are kind of rolling out here. Look at the due dates, put them into the assignments folder. Plenty of content on there. Minimum requirements are polyline drawing and either a mechanical or an architectural drawing. Okay, that's what I have for this week. Al, is there anything else I'd like to or I need to talk about?
No, not at this time. Just make sure if you have any questions, either email us, instant message us, or send it to assignments, please.
Great. I'm going to end this recording and open things up for questions. See if I can figure out how to do that. All right, we'll see you online next week.